is found in self-awareness, not perfection, right? Finding those practical pauses that we talked about so that they can be implemented into your everyday life versus trying to create a completely new lifestyle that is contrary to how you live today. I can't speak for you, but I know that there were moments in my life where the minute my alarm went off, I jumped up, I picked up my phone, and I was immediately on it. That is so detrimental to your well-being and your mental health. Hi, thank you for joining yet another episode of Get Set with Lissette. This is where we have inspiring conversations that empower you to get set. This episode is actually a part 2 from my last episode where we explored the why behind taking a pause, the power behind it, the importance of it, and the essence of how it can allow an individual to take those next steps, whether it's in personal alignment, in professional growth, or whatever of the sort. Now, let's talk about the how to practice it, when to apply it, and how to live with intention while still getting things done. So, for context, in the event you're listening to one prior to the other or vice versa, I shared recently that I really have found power in just being still. I have, at different points of my life, found myself for different reasons, in spaces and places where I was either physically forced to stop something because my body no longer could, or being in positions where I just needed to just collect inventory. And so I have personally been looking into the power behind stillness and stopping. And also, I personally find it so incredibly important to ensure and differentiate between what a pause is and this idea of inaction. Because to take inventory and to give yourself grace to be still and to stop should never be confused with inaction. And I believe that with my core. I also personally believe that in stopping and in pause, in those moments of pause, should I say, is where breakthroughs occur. And it's where I've gotten my best moments of redirection, my ideas of where I need to go and what I need to do, and my moments of taking real action and exiting different things and starting completely anew. And so I just wanted to recap quick, depending on if you're listening in sequence or watching in sequence, or you're just catching an episode randomly. I wanted to make sure that I just shared briefly what that first part meant and the importance of stillness and grounding yourself. It's a practice that I have done at different points in my life and something that I'm being very, very intentional today and who I am and the woman that I am today and the direction that I hope to go into, ensuring my ability to be fully authentic, extremely intentional with every word that comes out of my mouth, every action that I take, and every decision that I make. So if you didn't catch it, part 1, it's giving you the idea and the concept around and the beauty around the pause. Now let's get into the how behind it. So you guys know, and I'm a broken record, I do look for tactical, practical, and by no means am I a professional, but I look for professional backing just because I'll say this. I get the idea of having platforms where you can just talk, right? I want you to know me and I want to get to know you, and I do want there to be an opportunity for connection. But I also want to make sure that I am giving you honest conversation and real information that is going to be something that you can honestly use in your day-to-day life and that it has been proven to work and be true. I don't ever want to be the individual that just says something to say it and then, God forbid, someone practices something and finds a differing experience. So I say that because these practical ways that I've found have actually been like proven to have worked. And I do have in here some studies on different ways of pausing and the manner in which they worked. I say that so that you know that there is some statistical and scientific truth behind this. So now let's talk about those ways. One thing that you can do when practicing pauses is those micro pauses. I know for, again, part 1, I talked about that 4-7-8 breath work technique. Again, it's inhaling for 4 seconds through the nose, holding that breath for 7 seconds, and then exhaling through the mouth for 8. If that's something that you're like, it's too much science behind it, just pausing for 60 seconds are what we consider micro pauses. It's ensuring that you take a moment to pause and be intentional with your breath before responding to a situation. Another practical way that you can practice pauses, if you're at a point where you want to take it like a little higher, or in the words of my father, kick it up a notch, is scheduled stillness. And so when I say scheduled stillness, it is literally creating white space in your calendar. And I say it that way so that you have a visual idea of what that means. When we put stuff on our calendar, we block out time. We block out this and that. Be intentional with that white space. Give yourself an opportunity to have a moment of nothing being planned. And don't fill that space up with something. Instead, make sure that you are practicing stillness, whether that is journaling like we talked about on the past episode, or just meditating, praying, or doing literally nothing, but giving yourself grace to just ground yourself. So that would be like a scheduled stillness. Another practical way of using and practicing this concept of pause, especially in today's day and age, and a lot of people, there's been a lot of talk about it, is like a digital pause. That can be something as simple as putting your phone down for a moment, right? Not touching it for X period of time. It's utilizing, if you're an iPhone user, can't speak for my Android people, but if you're an iPhone user, it's using that do not disturb function. It's having opportunities for those focus functions and focusing and putting the phone away and giving yourself the grace and the opportunity to be disconnected for some time. That to me is still a pause. It's a digital pause that we'll call. And another way of pausing is that mindful transition. So ways that you can do that is longer periods of time of just you and your thoughts. Moments that I've used this concept to give you some practical ways to do this are not having any music or being on the phone or doing anything when you're in your car, right? When it's just you by yourself and there's no one in the car, have a moment of quiet. Drive without anything on. Do your best not to multitask and just drive, which you need enough mental capacity for that. Don't fill it with anything else. Give yourself time to do that. Other little ways to implement this where it's not taking too much in this is in your shower, right? When you take a shower, and we all talk about it, those are the moments where you get the best ideas. When you're in the shower, be intentional with that time. Give yourself an opportunity when you're showering to ground yourself again. Question, am I in alignment? How do I feel today? Where am I out of sorts of whatever that is? Be true with you and your body and give yourself an opportunity during that shower to just be still. Spend 30 seconds of just standing in the shower and letting the water just like consume you and fill you and give you an opportunity to just breathe through it and just be present. These small little changes and modifications in your life of this intentional pausing can benefit you in ways that you may not even understand. Now, again, I've talked about what those things are in the 4 different components: mental, spiritual, physical. We've already had those conversations, part 1. So again, very no shame in it plug for the last episode. Definitely get back into that. But now let me talk about what some of those proven benefits have been in the past. Studies have shown that practicing this concept of pause has provided or improved emotional regulation. So how does that look in real life? It is having less reactivity, right? In the midst of when something happens, rather than being reactive to whatever happens, moments of stillness and taking those pauses allows for that emotional regulation so that you aren't reacting to whatever happens to you. It also provides for better decision making because, again, you get that mental clarity and a space to allow you to make better choices and decisions because you've paused long enough to truly take inventory and think about whatever decisions it is you're making. Physically, the way that there's benefits in this is literally reduce stress and lower cortisol. What that says is that scientifically, it has been proven that breath work and mindfulness provides you a way to literally physically reduce your stress and bring down your levels of cortisol, which is basically that stress management chemical. I am not a scientist, but that's basically what cortisol is. And it increases creativity and enhances productivity. So again, talk about a catch-22. You can be more productive when you make and create space for yourself to pause and have those moments for you and yourself. Studies have actually shown, to give you an exact percentage, studies show that taking breaks improves performance by up to 45% compared to that nonstop work. 45% is significant. Now, like I said, I definitely did some even further research in this and looked at 4 in particular studies on ways that this concept of pausing have shown up and the ways that they worked. When it comes to the concept of improving emotional regulation and that decision making, researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, found that mindfulness and short pauses throughout the day led to greater emotional regulation, including reduced impulsivity and heightened self-awareness. The participants that engaged in this daily mindful pauses were, are you ready? 32% less reactive in high stress stimulation and reported more aligned decision-making over an 8-week period. So what that means in real time is that a pause helps you respond, not just react, giving space for those harder decisions that you end up having to make in life. And that was a study, like I said, outside of the University of California, Berkeley. So another study on the concept of reducing your stress and lowering cortisol levels was done in 2016, and it was published in, Jesus, work with me here as I say this because I don't want to butcher it, but please give me grace, Psychoneuroendocrinology. Okay? Study showed that deep breath techniques like that 4-7-8 breathing that I talked about reduce cortisol by up to 40% within 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Utilizing that 4-7-8 breathing technique reduce cortisol levels up to 40% within 10 to 15 minutes. This is life-changing, okay? This can literally, stress kills. This can save a life, taking this intentional breathing and this intentional stillness. The participants that were practicing this conscious breath work had lower heart rates and improved sleep, and they reported feeling calmer within their day-to-day. So again, this concept isn't just like a vibe. I'm not saying this just for it. Like, this is actually physically providing benefits to oneself in as quick as 10 to 15 minutes. And now I looked up another study when we talk about that increased focus and productivity. In looking at these different research studies, we're noticing that this concept of pause, when looked at from a practical standpoint, it isn't just a concept on doing something just for the sake of. It is literally showing up physically with improvements, mental clarity, and providing a space and place for an individual to really, really do the best that they can and be more productive moving forward. Now that I've given you those practical ways to go about it, and we've talked about the studies that have shown up and shown us in real life time how it can be improvement, now I want to give you some of those best moments where you can use a pause. One moment can be when you just simply feel overwhelmed or overstimulated, when your heart rate's going up and you're in a high pace, high stress situation. That is a moment where you can respond and listen to your body and really look to just take that moment for pause. Another moment is in those heated arguments that you may be having with a peer, a colleague, a loved one, a family member. In those moments of heated conversation, rather than just react to what is being provided to you, take that moment of pause, stop, collect inventory of self, and then respond accordingly. This will allow you to emotionally regulate yourself, provide an opportunity for you to speak more clearly, and also not be so quick with words that you put your foot in your mouth, right? This is where that better decision-making, better conversations come into play. Another moment where we can implement this concept of pause is when we're making life-changing decisions. Whether that is a big move or a job change or an opportunity of sorts, or fully going into a whole different direction in life, right? Those are moments where those pauses become essential. It's just good to pause in moments of transition in your life. During any transition of any sort, having moments of pause and stillness are life-changing and game-changing on how you move. And finally, and the way that I practice it and that it shows up day in and day out, is right before starting or ending your day. Start your day in stillness. Don't just jump up out of bed. Take a moment when you open your eyes to just do some breathing techniques, ground yourself to the awareness of what's happening around you. Give yourself those seconds at times that are necessary of just being still before you get up and go. I can't speak for you, but I know that there were moments in my life where the minute my alarm went off, I jumped up, I picked up my phone, and I was immediately on it. That is so detrimental to your well-being and your mental health. Take moments to just acknowledge that you're up, know that you have things that you have to do, but take those seconds of pausing and be one with yourself, get going for the day. Same with how you end it. Do that same practice. Before you lay your head on that pillow and you close your eyes, ensure that you have created a space where you have an opportunity to get rid of those thoughts that are lingering, put down the phone and have it away from you. Turn off. I know everyone has their preference, but I believe, and studies have also backed me up, but not having anything on electronically, whether that's a TV or anything else, again, that is a different conversation for a different day, and everyone has their own thing. But having moments of stillness before you go to sleep will also reduce that cortisol and allow you the ability to be able to sleep more soundly. And the reason why I bring this up is because, again, with staying true to self and with being my best to be intentional with everything that I talk about and what we do, this idea of pausing is so that you can start to become more purpose-driven and still productive. It gives you an opportunity to be both productive and intentional. You have an opportunity to be able to do things with more intentionality to ensure that you are being true to everything you've got going on. And honestly, it allows you to be more consistent, right? And mindful, because you're now making decisions and you're moving from a place and space where you are in every moment, whether it's that overstimulated situation or feeling overwhelmed, or in the middle of a transition like we talked about, or all of these big transitions of life. If you practice stillness, you put yourself in a place to be more productive and more consistent. Build this concept of pause in your routines, whether morning, night, midday, making that white space like we talked about. Create a physical trigger if you need to. Sometimes, for those that aren't watching, you're not gonna be able to see if you're just listening, but I tend to, it's dual use. Right here on my wrist is literally just a hairband, right? I use it because I have a lot of hair and it's thick, and I put it away, like put my hair up. But I also have moments where I'm just like taking it, kind of using it to just play with, but also being intentional and reminding myself to be present in the moment, to be there, and to just make that space. Do that. I do it with a hairband right now, but I've known people that have used rubber bands, opportunities, or have a bracelet on that they touch. That physical component can really also be beneficial in the use of this concept of pause when you're ready. And not everyone can do this, but if you're a person that wants to take it to another space, like I've said in the past, journaling and having this active journal can also be a way to go about it. You see, you have to just remind yourself and give yourself permission to say, I give myself permission to pause, to breathe, and to be. You have to be intentional in that arena and ensure that you are giving yourself that space and permission to do so in order to be more mindful, more consistent, and more productive. So now, with all of what I've given you today, right? Let me try and sum it all up in my key takeaways from today's episode. The first key takeaway is the pause is a power move, not a weak one. So what does that mean? Choosing to pause is not a delay in progress. It's a way to protect your peace, sharpen that idea of your purpose, and show up with more intentionality. My second key takeaway is the concept of what we talked about, having those practical pauses, and that they can be built into your everyday life, right? Finding those practical pauses that we talked about so that they can be implemented into your everyday life versus trying to create a completely new lifestyle that is contrary to how you live today. Small steps lead to big changes. My third key takeaway is that the science supports the stillness. I shared with you a few studies and researchers that have shown and done work in this concept of pausing, concepts of breath work. It's out there. The science supports it. There is an opportunity to improve your quality of life by taking a moment to pause and create those opportunities throughout your day as you move forward. And my last key takeaway is that balance is found in self-awareness, not perfection. So when I say self-awareness, that's where the concept of pause comes from. It is saying, I am present, I know where I am, I'm reminding myself of my own personal values, my mission, my vision. I am aware of if it's a high stimuli situation or you're feeling reactive. I am aware of my emotions. I am aware of how I'm feeling right now. And I am choosing to take a moment, collect inventory before I move forward. Doing those things allows for you to be more self-aware. We're not talking perfection here. We're talking small modifications on everyday life that help you be the best version of you. So I know I gave you, for the last episode, for part one, I said about finding an opportunity for pausing and being intentional with that. Today, I am going to say, choose one of those practices and those practical ways of going about it that I mentioned, and try to see how it can be used in your day-to-day life. Give that opportunity to you to choose just one and find a way to use it and try it out for a week. But start today. As always, I hope that this has provided information that will inspire you to continue to be the best versions of yourself. Give yourself that permission to pause and to be still. Know my heart is here to just continue to provide information and opportunities to empower you and inspire you to be the best versions of yourself. Hopefully, I will continue our conversations of inspiring individuals to continue to empower them to get set. So, sending light, sending love. Until next time, bye.